You should always write about things you know. If you haven't heard that yet, you probably will. For example, Steinbeck, when he wrote Of Mice and Men, wrote about the Depression and the Dust Bowl. Elie Wiesel, when he wrote Night, talked about the German occupation and something he lived through, which was the concentration camps. Sandra Cisneros wrote about the house on Mango Street, and this was her actual home. Now we're going to read Animal Farm by George Orwell. Orwell writes about the corruption of government, which is something he witnessed when he was a young man. Orwell shapes the Russian Revolution into his point of view in his novel Animal Farm. He documents the rise of the power of Joseph Stalin, who became a very corrupt leader of Russia after the Russian Revolution. Stalin was corrupt and controlling and created a government that exercised this over the people. The setting of the novel is Farmer Jones' farm, and the animals there can talk. The characters mirror real political figures of the Russian Revolution. So, Animal Farm begins with animals talking together at Farmer Jones' farm. It starts with Old Major, who was a pig who dreams that the animals will take over the farm, and says that if they do this, they should always be loyal, they should not drink alcohol, they should not use money, and they should not kill one another. And then he dies. Later on, Farmer Jones gets very drunk, and the animals, in fact, do take over the farm. The pigs, who are the smartest, take the lead. Animals have rules, and these are rules that the pigs themselves make. And these are the rules. They cannot sleep in beds, they cannot wear clothes, they cannot drink alcohol, they cannot kill other animals, and all animals are equal. Also, the final and most important rule, whoever has 4 legs or wings is a friend. The animals are all controlled by the pigs, as we said before. And then later on, the pigs start eating apples and drinking milk, which is what humans do. And when the other animals become suspicious, they say they have to do this because they need strength to control the farm. Eventually, they make only one new rule, which is 2 legs are bad. Eventually, Napoleon is elected to power. After that, the farm starts to fall apart. The pigs move into the main house where Farmer Jones used to live. The animals are no longer allowed to meet at all, and Snowball is banished from the farm. George Orwell's Animal Farm is a fable. A fable is a very short narrative that makes an edifying or cautionary tale or point, and often employs characters like animals that speak and behave like humans. You've heard of many fables, and I'm sure you read some in elementary school. It's also an allegory. An allegory represents abstract ideas or principles by characters and figures and events in a narrative. So allegories also have symbolic representations of things, such as a blindfolded figure with scales is usually an allegory of justice. Animal Farm is also a satire. A satire is a literary work in which human vice or folly is attacked through irony, derision, or wit. Irony, sarcasm, and caustic wit is used to attack or expose folly, vice, or stupidity. You're going to be dealing with a lot of satire when you're in 12th grade because you'll be reading things by Jonathan Swift and other writers that exercise this very often. Animal Farm is also loaded with propaganda. Propaganda is the systematic attempt to spread ideas or beliefs. This really was widespread in Russia and continues to be, and in fact in our current election, they're saying that Russia used this method of propaganda to try to defeat Hillary Clinton in her runoff with Donald Trump. Animal Farm is also filled with the use of stereotypes. He used pigs as taking control and being hungry for power because pigs really are considered selfish and gluttonous. That's why pigs were used, but they are also considered very intelligent. Another stereotype that he uses is that of the horse. Horses are considered to be slow-witted. However, many of them are strong and gentle and very loyal. Another stereotype that's used is that of the sheep. Sheep are considered brainless, and they really do behave this way. They behave as a flock, and they have no individual initiative. In Animal Farm, Orwell's characters are related to historical counterparts. For example, Farmer Jones represents Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, who was overthrown in the Russian Revolution. Old Major represents a very important economic thinker, Karl Marx. Most socialist thinkers follow his ideas. Leon Trotsky, the father of communism, is represented by Snowball. He was very committed to his ideals, but he was eventually destroyed by Stalin. And of course, as we said before, Napoleon represents Joseph Stalin. He was a brutal dictator who practiced genocide on his people, maybe equal, if not exceeding, the genocide of that of Adolf Hitler. The dogs, who are German shepherds, represent the KGB, which is the Soviet Union's secret police. These guys were very similar to Hitler's SS. Orwell included many other allusions and historical counterparts. Some of these are listed below. The major conflicts included in Animal Farm are the animals versus Mr. Jones, the farmer, Snowball versus Napoleon, and common animals versus the pigs. Animal Farm is also in conflict with neighboring humans, but all of these are expressions of tensions between the exploited and the exploiting classes, or lofty ideals and the harsh realities of socialism and just real life in general. All of these conflicts are timeless and can be imposed on almost any society. As we said before, the setting of the novel takes place in Manor Farm. It is initially run as a capitalistic dictatorship by Mr. Jones. It is renamed Animal Farm after the animals revolt and drive Mr. Jones away. And this is an imaginary farm in England. Animal Farm, like other fables, is set in an unspecified time and we cannot date the action. Orwell does this on purpose, so that it is a timeless book. He also satirizes the Russian Revolution, which lasted from 1917 to 1945. His point of view is timeless, and he uses the omniscient narrator. The plot goes accordingly. In the rising action, the animals overthrow the human oppressors and establish a socialist state called Animal Farm. The pigs, who are the most intelligent, take control of the planning and the government of the farm. Snowball, who represents Trotsky, and Napoleon, who represents Stalin, engage in ideological disputes and start to compete for power. In the climax, Napoleon runs Snowball off the farm with his trained pack of dogs, who represent the secret police, and declares that the power to make decisions for the farm will be exercised completely by the pigs, who are also who represent the Bolsheviks. In the falling action, Squealer, who represents the Soviet propagandists, driven by a publication called Pravda, emerges to justify Napoleon's actions with skillful but duplicitous reinterpretations of animalist principles. Today, this reinterpretation would be called alternative facts. Napoleon continues to consolidate his power, eliminating his enemies and reinforcing his status as supreme leader. The common animals continue to obey the pigs, hoping for a better future. A theme is the fundamental and often universal idea that is explored in a literary work. There can be more than one theme, however. In Animal Farm, Orwell explores the theme of corruption of the socialist ideals in the Soviet Union. Another theme is social and societal tendencies toward class stratification. Also, the danger of a naive working class represented by sheep. He also explores the abuse of language as an instrumental part of the abuse of power. And finally, his idea is absolute power absolutely corrupts. And this ideal comes directly from the Greeks. Some of the symbols and metaphors in Animal Farm are delineated below. Please read and take notes on these. For example, the windmill represents industrialization and progress. And of course, another symbol and metaphor is the dogs. The German shepherds represent the power of a police state. Try to keep these things in mind as we read and take notes on Animal Farm by George Orwell. Your year-end final will be over Animal Farm, so take careful notes and utilize the book effectively.